The truth is that people pleasing at its core is rooted in us not feeling like we're good enough, like feeling like we're not valued, feeling like we're not appreciated, feeling like the only way that someone's going to like us is if we overextend ourselves. And that's a trauma response for so many people. The need to make other people like you or see you based on the things you do for them is actually the worst thing you will ever do to yourself, because now you are tied to what they say or how they approve or what they like about you. At the end of our lives, the only person that you will resent is you. It's not just that you're good and generous, because maybe you are, maybe these are natural qualities and characteristics to you, but often when it's rooted in the desire to be seen or liked, that's not our generosity, that's our wound. We don't respond to people from our healed place. We respond to them from the desire for them to finally pick us, for them to tell us that we're doing good, for them to make us feel like we're validated and worth it. And we will never actually be worth it. We'll never love ourselves if we keep thinking that we have to be loved by someone else first. So a lot of these things stem from so many places, and a lot of people would go back and say, well, it's because of how my parents taught me, or what they did to me, or how they made me feel, and that's very valid and very true. And for a lot of people, that's a big, big root of what's going on. But at its core, at the center part of all this, for a lot of us, it's not just how our parents made us feel, but it's how we think that we need to show up for everyone else. And again, it might be rooted in that, but it's deeper when we realize that there's different levels of people pleasing. Like there are the ones that, again, the parents, the thing that we stem from, where we think that that's how we couldn't live up to the desire or the potential or the things they're asking for us. We have that drive to do so much better in every other place, that it's this unsatiable thirst that we have that's never going to feel fulfilled, because it's never going to be enough. You're never going to feel that. And that's actually people pleasing from a parental wound, but even deeper, our own desire to look like the person that we thought we should have looked like for them. Like to be this image that we thought that they were. And you will never be that image. The truth is that you are always going to have something more. There's always going to be another mountain to climb. There's always going to be more that you need to produce for that to ever be fulfilled. So when we look at that, it has to come to a point where we need to understand that there will never be enough. And we need to learn to be joyful and be grateful in the things that we have now. Learn that it's not the quantity, but the quality. It's not how much you achieve, but how much purpose it achieves in you. And we'll never please those people, those family members of ours, because it's not possible. And you'll always have these things that we don't even understand, because again, for them, again, these wounds are passed down. These are generational things that our habits, our wounds that have been passed and permitted in our family for so long, that we fall into this trap. And especially in like Latino homes, where there's a big, big cultural thing, because our parents, for the biggest part of everything, they just want to brag. Like they just want, one, they do want your success. They do want you to be happy, but they also want to tell other people of all the things you're doing. Like I remember when I went to school and I have a degree in microbiology, and I was going to go to PA school, and that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to go into the medical field, and then I realized that I had a talent for speaking and I had a talent for teaching, and my friend convinced me. He's like, listen, worst case, I already got into PA school at this point. Worst case scenario, you go to teaching and you go into the ministry stuff that you were doing, and if you hate it, go next year or go the year after. You could still apply later. And I was like, you know what, that makes a lot of sense. And I ended up going, and I ended up doing really well at what I was doing. But as I was studying stuff, my mom would always post like, "Oh, my future doctor," and this and that and the third. And that was the thing. Now, full disclosure, my mom was very supportive of everything I did, no matter what I did. She was going to be boasting and bragging about her son because she just loved her son. It was a very thing. But for a lot of us in our culturally, we have parents or even family members, uncles and aunts, that they want other people to see how successful you are. They want other people to know about their family member that's doing all these things, because it makes them look good. It adds to their flavor. It adds to their spice. And we end up creating this almost disappointing response when we don't choose what they were bragging about, when we don't choose to do the thing that they want us to. When we choose to do the thing that brings us the most joy, that brings us the most gratitude, that makes us happy with us, grateful for us, not for what they need to see or what they think. And that's hard, right? Because no one wants to disappoint anyone, much less someone in your family. But I need us to shift away from this thought that if we do what we want, it will disappoint other people. So what? Disappoint them. Like, I need you to understand that you can disappoint people. They're not going to die your death. They're not going to pay your bills. They're not going to live your life. Why do you think that you need to please them in a way that they're going to be happy? What will that do for you? Absolutely nothing. The shame is a lie that keeps us rooted in something that we don't need to be in. You don't need to remain in the same place or in the same pattern just because your family members think that you should be there. And again, if you're doing something like terrible in your life, okay, maybe they're just looking out for the best for you. But at some point, we need to realize that we have this people-pleasing mentality out of a fear of letting down the people that we are connected to, with our families and our friends too, but we'll dive into that later. Just this notion that you have the freedom and the ability and just the wherewithal to do what you need to do for you. You're aware, you know what this is. And if we continue to stay in things that we think will bring joy to other people, we will make sure that we're miserable. We will rob our own joy to flatter theirs, to give more to theirs, to pump up theirs. It will not be who you deserve to be if you have to continue to live in something that is only pleasing to other people that you thought at one point you had to please. And this is the most freeing thing you will ever do. There is so much freedom in knowing that you are free to just be you. You're free to just live in who you are and do the thing that you love. Of course, barring that it hurts other people or that you're hurting yourself or, things that genuinely bring joy and goodness to you. So something that I'm actually going through right now, and I feel like it's important. I've said this so many times on this podcast that I share everything because I feel like it's important for us to see that there's just truth everywhere, and not everyone knows everything, and not everyone's freed from going through things and struggling through things. We all have these things. So as I'm even recording this now, there is a great possibility that this podcast may no longer exist. I don't know what's happening. I'm trying to have some meetings and some things put in order. It might be shifting to a different place or to a different format. It might just not happen at all. And yesterday, as I was driving after having this meeting, I'm heading home. There was this discouragement that I was feeling. Like I said, again, I'm echoing things, and I'm sharing it with you guys because I think it's very important, especially when we come to the sense of people pleasing and who are we actually making happy. But as I was I've said it before, right? There's the possibility that we didn't reach the metrics that needed to be hit. And again, I'm not making excuses, but just being real. I'm not exactly the most famous person on my network. I'm just a guy that has a lot to say and cares about a lot of people. And it was given a person specifically who he's doing amazing things, and he's still trying to even help me, believed in me. And I think that's one of the most important things. And I wouldn't leave that for another episode, but I do think it's important that you give people their flowers when they do things that they don't have to do, when they go out of their way to kind of just love on you and help you and pour into you because they believe in you. I think that's so vital. And that'll be for closer to the end of this episode of podcast. But as I was driving, I'm sitting here and I'm dealing with this discouragement. I'm thinking, wow, man, I guess I wasn't good enough. I guess I didn't hit the metrics I needed to hit. I guess I bit off more than I could chew. And again, I'm very privileged in this sense because I got something in a very quick time that most people spend years trying to achieve. And that's to the regard of somebody believing you, but that's another episode for later. And I'm sitting there and I'm just thinking to myself, man, this sucks. This is something that I was really joyful in, and I'm really just putting everything behind. And again, not giving power to the excuses, but life at the same time simultaneously became extremely difficult. There are a lot of things that I had to step into that I couldn't give full time. Or didn't give the time it deserved, rather. Not that I didn't do full time, because this is hours and hours of editing and writing and all this thing. But I still think that especially when you're new in something, you need to be able to invest in it even deeper than most people would. But not giving power to that, just the reality of it, just something I have to sit with and unpack. And I say this because, one, of course, I'll be mentioning it as we go along the last few episodes here, but I say this because I think it's important for us to understand that sometimes we feel like we didn't give enough in a place that we think we need to please. that we need to make to something. And what happens is that we foster this resentment for the thing or for the people or for the place. We foster this lie because what happens in our feeling of not being enough, of not feel like we please the right people, we create this false dichotomy between success and joy. Like I enjoyed and enjoy, and will enjoy creating content and making stuff. Does not mean I stop, right? It doesn't mean any of that. It just means that the way I shape things needs to change. And if you allow discouragement to be the driving force behind everything, you are done. Like you will never feel joyful. You'll never feel purposeful. You'll feel like you're not good enough. And this is where we foster this resentment. This is where this falls into because again, tied into your family members, your friends, your job, like me. If you're tying these things in there, you are looking for these things to applaud your effort. Sometimes they won't. Sometimes you'll try really, really hard and it won't work. But what that means, what that does, it doesn't mean that you change the vision. That's that old saying, right? It's not that you change the goal, you change the plan. You change how you approach things. You change the opportunities that you have. Maybe you'll get other opportunities. Maybe that's a factor for me, right? That's on the table. There are other opportunities being potentially presented, and those are things that we always need to address and move with. We foster resentment in places that we don't feel like we can live up to. And sometimes we don't even realize it. Like you will respond out of this resentment, whether you know it or not, in a snappy way. Sometimes someone might say something to you or might bring it up, and you will just respond negatively because you fostered resentment in a place for something that you feel shame about. Listen, no matter where you are in life, no matter what the struggle looks like, no matter how the growth looks like or lack thereof, what it feels like, we need to first learn that our joy is not rooted in what we're doing or who sees us or how successful we are. It's rooted in who we are. My success does not dictate my joy. My joy dictates my success. The things that I'm doing in life are not going to dictate who I am. Who I am dictates the things I will do. At the end of our lives, if we keep responding from a place of resentment, we will always be hurt. If you respond from a place of joy, if you are centered in who you are, who you were made to be, every time you respond to something, it's going to be from the place that you are capable and not from what it was done to you. It's good because when we live in that shame, what happens for a lot of us is that we are now responding from that shame. We're responding from that resentment. We're responding from the pain. So we destroy anything else. We don't allow the things that could have fostered and to happen. We don't allow those things to grow because we are now stuck there. But what if the way you respond to those things is not by that outcome, but by your internal outcome? What you've already created and was actually come out of you into those things. It will not dictate who you are. Who you are will dictate what it is. How you change and how you respond and how you allow those things to either flow through or stop you will change everything. I believe that we can only measure success by how we're willing to continue. That's actually exactly it, because if we're measuring success by how we're willing to continue, then we can measure failure by where we're willing to stop. If you're going to stop here, then that's it. That's where you are. That's all you will ever be. That's all you will ever grow. And you will live with the resentment of what you could have been. You will live with that what if pain. But if you're growing through it, if you're choosing to not let resentment be your catalyst, then something amazing happens. There's a connection between consistently giving and feeling completely empty. Like, I want to first fan that flame that you should be generous. You should be good. You should give. You shouldn't let this cold world make you cold. You shouldn't let it rob your warmth. You shouldn't let it stop you from giving to the places that deserve to receive what you're willing to receive. But there has to be reciprocity, because we can't drain ourselves dry and then wonder why we feel empty. We feel like a shell of ourselves. There has to be a way to gauge this. And the way you gauge this is simple. Am I pouring in and am I being poured into? Like, is this people pleasing of me just pouring in and no one giving back to me? Or is this reciprocal and I'm pouring in and I'm being poured back into it? And sometimes that might look different. Like sometimes you pouring into a place might be because you're pouring out of abundance. You have more and you're giving more. And them pouring into you, whatever it is, the job, the family member, the relationship, them pouring into you is from a place of reciprocal abundance. So they have abundance you don't. With the best relationships you will ever have, the best careers you will ever have, the best friendships, romantic partners, whatever. The best relationships will always come from a place where you pour into each other when you don't have. Like if you both have, awesome, that's great. Keep pouring in. But it comes to a place where you are down and bad, and they are willing to pour into you, and you're willing to pour into them when they are down and bad. There's something powerful about that, understanding that there is a dynamic where we keep each other not just alive but thriving in that. I think the greatest thing that you ever find in a partner is a partner that sees who you are as you're doing. Because not just potential, because potential is bad. Potential is dangerous. Sometimes we like to marry potential and then we get our heart broken because we saw they could potentially be, but they didn't see it. It's finding a person that has drive and will and then saying, I'm pouring into you because I believe in what you believe. If that person does not believe that they can be that thing, I promise you, you will never change them. Just because you can see what they can be doesn't mean that they will be what you see. At the end of the day, you will break your heart more thinking that you can change somebody into something that they don't want to be. It's great that you have vision and you can see the diamond in the rough, but you cannot force a person to do what they need to do to become that person. You will hate yourself because you've spent so much time trying to give more of you and pouring into a place that is never pouring back into you. Now, the difference, again, with potential with people who are actively trying to live it, effort is the most important thing that you will ever see. If we're willing to pour into these places and they're willing to pour back, then it's not people pleasing, it's reciprocal. And this is how we gauge these things. Do you actually care and give where it's necessary? Or is it just something that is out of convenience for you, for me to do to you, to help you in that way, to give into you that way, to make you the pinnacle of everything? We need to be able to understand that difference, because that's how we end up staying stuck in places that we should have left a long time ago. It's a connection between constantly giving and feeling completely empty. In this thing, again, it's easy to gauge no matter what it is, romantic, career, whatever that is. Do you feel empty in it? Like, are you showing up every day and you hate? And again, I feel like I have to just give some little prefaces here, because sometimes we'll say stuff like, I have work and I hate work. And sometimes your work really just isn't giving to you. It isn't purposeful for you. It's just work. You have to show up for work. And that's a problem and things to address and think about. But sometimes it's also us, right? It's how we approach things. It's how we see things. There's people that are begging for the job that you have. They are begging for your problems. And we lose sight of that because we become so used to just the circle, the cycle that we're in, it just doesn't feel good to us to continue there, because, again, you're so used to it. Like, there is nothing that will make you feel more afraid or missing the thing than potentially no longer having it. I know for a lot of people that I know personally, if they complain often about their jobs, but it's because they're so used to the complaining portion of it that it's just something that goes with the workflow. But the moment, if they had to lose that, the moment that's gone, they would absolutely miss it. So is it the things actually draining you, or is it just that you have been conditioned to have this mindset where you're just going to complain about everything? One of those things that we need to be able to address. And if it's not life-giving, if it's the latter, right, then it's outside of who you are, and you're always going to feel that way, right? You will feel drained in a thing that wasn't meant for you to keep. Like, you will always feel like, oh, this sucks, my life is horrible, my life is terrible, because you are doing something that is outside of what you were meant to be doing. And I know it's easy to say sometimes. We all got bills. We all have things we have to come up with. But we also we live in a time where we have the luxury and the ability to build things on the side. And again, I'm speaking from experience. Like, I just shared how hard my schedule is, how hard my life is, how hard there's so many things happening around. But it's impossible for me to look at this and not feel joyful. Like I don't look at these things and say, "Oh man, like this is horrible." Like it is. Like I acknowledged it, right? I had a moment where I allowed myself to feel and to unpack and to sit with it. But then after that, we're back. We're business as usual. Why? Because I'm not concerned about the negative outcomes. I'm concerned about me creating the positive. I'm concerned about what am I going to do next. I'm more driven by the desire to succeed than I am by the fear of failure. If you stay stuck there, if that's the thing you will feed. And when we feed our failure, when we feed that fear, it becomes the center point of everything. So our last 2 points here before we wrap this episode up is how to start setting boundaries without guilt or explanation. That's a big one. I think that is the most powerful thing you will ever do in your life. Have firm boundaries and not need to explain yourself. Not need to tell somebody, oh, well, this is why I feel this way. No, just flat out boundaries and be firm on them. And we struggle with this because we still want people to like us. We still want to please them. We still want them to feel like we're this good person and we're this and we're that. I don't care what you think about me. I think you need to learn to be okay with being the bad person in someone's story, being the villain, being the character. I don't care what your opinion is about me if it's going to affect who I am as a person. We should not be afraid to be firm on what we need and how we feel and not need to justify that. You don't need to justify to somebody why you don't want to show up to their thing. You don't need to justify to them why you don't feel like you're this or that and involved in that situation. We don't need to explain ourselves. Now, I want to be clear, there should be parameters to that, right? Sometimes there are certain things that you're just being a crappy person. That's different. You just don't want to help anyone or love anyone or care anyone. I'm not saying don't do those things. I'm saying that you need to be clear that you are not meant to be walked over, that you don't have to please everyone by showing up when they need you or desire you to be there. You don't need to sit here and be a stepping stool for somebody else to get up and do something that they don't even care if you're there. Being firm and creating these boundaries doesn't mean that you don't love people. It just means that you learn to love you, that you stop saying yes to everything and devalue your yes. At some point, we'll have to shift this mindset, this thought that we need to tell everybody everything. That we need to feel guilty for not saying yes to what they want from us. It's not your job. Your job is literally not to do what they need. That's not your job. Your job is to do what you need, to grow how you need to grow, to change and to be better how you need to be better. Yes, again, I'll echo it. Love people, care for people, but don't feel like it's your obligation, your duty, your job to do things for them that are just unnecessary. At some faction in our life, we've been made to feel like that the only way we're valuable or good or useful is if we produce something for someone else. You can say no. The most powerful sentence that you will ever speak is just saying no. I'm not going to show up there. I'm not going to do these things. I'm not going to respond how you need me to respond just so you can feel better about yourself. I'm not going to make myself less so that you can feel greater. You should be able to say no and not feel guilty about it. That will be the most growth that you will ever see in you because it allows you to love you deeper. Create these boundaries and stop people pleasing. Stop allowing people to dictate how you act or react based on what they think it should look like. And our final point here is what it really means to show up authentically for yourself and others. And I think it's interesting there because if we are authentically us, that will rub the wrong people the wrong way. Like if you are authentically who you are, who you want to be, you're firm with your boundaries, you just are joyful in you, you're grateful for who you are. If you are that person, the people that benefited from the use they had over you will hate you. They will say that you changed. They'll say that you're this. They'll say you're that you think you're better. You know what? Yes, you are better. What now? Yes, you have it more together. What now? Yes, your life is good. What now? So we need to stop allowing people to not allow us to feel like we are doing good, that we're happy, that we're joyful. I've encountered that myself in my life. I've had people who, and I've mentioned this in different episodes, but I think it's relevant when we understand about people pleasing, that I've had people in my life who have been in these quiet competitions with me that I've just never was aware of because my mindset is never me against you. My mindset is always us. How can we improve? How do I love people around me more? How do I show up more? How do I cheer for me. And this was the biggest problem. When I began to cheer for me because I've been doing things that I'm so grateful for, like I've mentioned, they had a problem with it. And that echoes loudly. The people that will never cheer for you publicly are always the people that criticize you privately. They're always going to be the ones that had a lot to say. You'll never see the applause from them. No matter what you do, you could have cured cancer for all that matters. And they will never say that you did something great. And that's a them issue. That's not a you issue. That's their own ego. That's their own pride. That's their own insecurities. If we're being real, if they are in a secret competition with you that you're not aware of, and you start doing well in life, they are going to be very mad because it means that they didn't improve on them. And especially if you're in the mindset of just loving people and caring for the people around you, it's almost going to feel like a slight to them because they're going to think, well, what are you doing? Like, we're supposed to be frenemies. Those are the worst people you will ever have around you. And when you show up authentically, when you stop saying yes to everything and everyone, when you stop explaining yourself, when you are just not pouring into people that aren't pouring back into you, it will always hurt the people that won when you didn't. The greatest thing you will ever do is stop people pleasing. Because it stems into so many places of your life. It just roots out and it kind of just changes the things around you. At some point in time, we have to learn that the only way we can actually love people is to first love ourselves. It's that whole airplane crashing thing, right? That if the plane is going down, that you need to be able to put your mask on yourself first before you can do it for anyone else. Right? You need to be able to breathe and just be present to help them. And you can't do that if you're panicking and flaring your arms and just suffocating because you didn't put on your mask. People pleasing would tell us that we need to go and put on everyone else's mask before we put on our own. You will never help those people. You'll never love fully into the people that need to be loved by you if you don't have your mask on. It's okay to say no. It's okay to not tell them why you said no. It's okay to have a boundary and a border and create these things and not allow people over the sides that they shouldn't be on or to pass through these things they shouldn't be on. And love yourself deeply without needing to explain it to everyone else. So again, as I mentioned, I'll be mentioning for the next couple of episodes, which is like 3? Something like that. I don't know. I'll mention as we go along. Some things will change. And if you made it this long, first of all, thank you for listening to this podcast. Thank you for the support. Thank you just for your presence and who you are. I will be announcing this, and hopefully I'll have more concrete timeline. But obviously my website, mademoremotivated.com, that's where I'm going to have a lot of bigger announcements and questions for people to ask and things for us to dive into. And obviously the social media stuff, which is _ Joshua Rosa, which is likely where you probably found this podcast episode from. But I'm going to be sharing more of that stuff there, or more of what's happening and more of life. And hopefully things just get resolved and we're able to move on to the next things here within the same sphere of what we're doing. But if not, such is life, I think that's like a Descartes quote also, such is life, which is something I've been saying for such a long time, put on a shirt or something. But such is life. Life will be life, and we will adapt or we'll be crushed by what we don't adapt to. And I'm looking forward to these next couple of episodes because I'm going to be a little deeper, obviously, with my own stuff and the things that we have to share. I'm still going to try to answer the questions that people send in. And this is, again, the birth of most of these episodes are from conversations or questions that people have asked. So I'm still going to try to, incorporate those things like I did today, right? Kind of incorporate. I think that was all right. But I do want to share what's happening. I mean, I've mentioned it before, the book that I'm working on and all these great things, all these things that are going to hopefully bring fruit to other people. But I think it's important, before we say goodbye here, that we understand that we will only be limited by what we allow to limit us. And I don't mean that to be like some super deep quote that it's like philosophy rich and all these things, but I mean that like tangibly, like physically. Like you will only be stopped by what you allow to stop you. If for example, if this was what's going to stop me, I've allowed that. Or it's going to be another just boost in everything else that I'm doing because I've had the experience to do these type of things. So you'll only be stopped by what you allow to stop you. Thank you again for listening to this episode. Thank you for your presence. Thank you just for the continued support and everything. Might be few of us, but I'm grateful for every last one of you. And we'll catch you on the next episode. Take care.